Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Greenblatt. I'm joined here today by James King. Hi, James. Appreciate you joining me and humoring me on this new idea that I had, and look forward to taking a ride with you on these semi-regular discussions.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. Like when you pitched this idea to me, I thought it was a great idea, and I look forward to seeing where this goes.
Well, let's share with everybody what we're talking about. And I recently reached out to James. We were both involved in a conference, and we'll both give a little bit of background for those of you who don't know us, and we'll tell you uh, why this is a relevant topic and what where we're going to go with it. But I reached out to James because we both come to AV programming from a different perspective. And I think that there's a knowledge gap and a difference in people's roles and experiences. And I think the idea was to create a bridge so that we can build some community and share information and knowledge and benefit different people who have different needs and are able to help each other. So James, why don't you kind of give a little bit of background and share what your perspectives from and some of your past experiences and how you got to being in a programmer role.
So thank you, Steve. Yeah, so I started out in higher education. I mean, that's where I still am. I've been in higher education for 12 years, going on 13 years now. My main focus was I want to be a network administrator. Um, when I got the job, I was tasked with more than just telecommunication. I also did some other help desk stuff here and there. So it was really IT focused. Um, back my programming stuff started back when I was a student worker, where I actually developed a online system for faculty members who request software for the computer labs. So I built that as a project for one of my classes. The university used that probably 3 to 4 years after I graduated. They were still using that system until we moved over to another platform. But so that really where my programming took off, and I learned IT. And then probably about 6 years ago, I got moved and placed under the AV team and signed with the programming. And we really were using a configurator for our main classrooms. And then I would handle the custom spaces that the configurator wouldn't handle. And then now we're 100% all custom code, because unfortunately the configurator doesn't work for us anymore.
And I think that's a great example, and thank you for sharing that. And a way that we certainly a topic that we can probably approach as we continue these conversations. Um, as you could tell, James' path to being a programmer and is very unique, and mine's a little unique as well. I came from starting my career, graduating with an engineering degree and finding a job with a control manufacturer, and then after I felt like I had gotten to the point where I wasn't growing anymore, I took a chance of venturing on my own and was one of the first independent programmers back in 1997. Um, since then, grown a company and hired programmers and learned to manage programmers and gotten more involved in the business side of things. But my head is always still in programming from the perspective of being needing to talk with clients, and we work with a combination of consultants and technology managers and manufacturers and integrators, and have very varied experiences in the programming world. So I don't actually do programming firsthand anymore, but I have a lot of experience with it, and I speak it on a day-to-day basis, even though I don't deliver it. So what I think is important there is that we have very there's things that we both do and understand and know. And I bet you that we're going to learn things about ourselves as we talk more and as we share experiences uh, that can help each other. Um, that's kind of the premise of what we're planning to talk about. So the idea that I had was, how can we share knowledge and build community by cultivating what are the difficulties, questions, problems that other programmers are having that they don't really have resources to get solved. So, James, I know maybe you could share a little bit. Reaching out to you, one of the things that I really admired is that you've gotten very involved in the higher ed community, both with the HETMA organization, being involved in higher ed AV, and also in social media. And so you have a lot of contact with a lot of people that you might not have had several years ago. Uh, Talk a little bit maybe about what you've learned from that, and some of the things that you've heard that we may be able to tackle in taking on this challenge of disseminating information.
So that's a great point there, Steve. Is last, as you said, I'm really involved with HEPMA, higheredav.com, um, and on the Twitter stuff there. And the reason was I felt like I was a person on an island where I had my coworkers, but we were in our bubble. And I would go to these events like training courses. I was hoping to go to Infocom, would have been my first one until the pandemic hit. And I would talk with other members, and that networking was a great feature. And the sharing war stories and helping each other. So I started to get a little more active on Twitter, um, which then led me to building actually a higher ed ITAV community. So it's a Slack group just for higher education tech managers. I wouldn't even, I call them tech managers because we manage technology, not we manage people. So we do have some directors, but we've got all the way down to boots on the ground. And we have 132 members in there right now who just share and help each other and grow. And that community is very uh, helpful, especially in time of the pandemic and stuff. But even with that community being the way it is it's really, like I said, managing technology. But I really don't have too many members on there who are strong programmers, um, or I don't even know their level of programming. We've handled some programming here and there, but also the downfall is everyone's using different languages. So when you pitch this idea of like building a bridge where we can communicate like with someone who might know multiple languages, like I know a lot of base computer languages like C sharp and HTML5, PHP, but now bringing that into the AV world is pretty new right now. Most people are either you're a Tron house doing Extron, Crestron, or you got Kramer, or you got QSCs coming out, you got AMX, all those houses. So, like, if I'm an AMX program, I may not know how to handle a QSC system or a Tron system, and vice versa. A Tron programmer may not know how to do AMX. So, being able to build that bridge with someone who can talk the multi languages and learn from and not be that person on an island anymore where we're limited into our little bubble is, I think, is very valuable.
I love that analogy, and I always say, and I have for years, you hit the nail right on the head. Both of those analogies, the bubble one is my top favorite, and being on an island is my second favorite. So it's so cool how we are thinking alike. And I think it comes from the fact that this is just a common experience. We can't be the only ones in this situation. And I think that there is a whole group of programmers out there in different situations and different backgrounds, all looking for a lifeline, if you will.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm starting to jump on some groups on like Facebook and LinkedIn, but they don't have that community feel like the Slack group I have with. And we help each other with the more hardware and more of a moral support, helping each other out here and there, handling technology questions here and there. But I don't see it as much as programming. Um, so I can see us building a good community here just for programmers to help each other out.
And I know that when I approached you about this, you had some questions too for me, and I tried to handle those up front. And one of them is, "Hey, what's in this for you?" And I was pretty quick to share that I wasn't doing this for any reason other than to help people, because it's just something that I feel I've had a lot of years in the industry. People have helped me, and I want to pass it along. Hate to see people struggling. But the other idea thing is to find out where people's needs are, because as a service provider, it helps me to determine where can my skills be best positioned, because I know that the industry is changing. I know that there are new needs, new opportunities, and new ways of doing business. And what we did in the past is not going to necessarily be valid moving forward. So I wanted to put that out there up front. Part of this is to do a lot of listening and sharing and seeing where our worlds overlap, but also understanding everybody else and everybody else's perspective. There's no better place than to learn from the people that you're trying to serve potentially. And I think that hopefully this will be a very comfortable forum to be able to do something like that.
I agree with you. Now, I always found that maybe I'm unique myself because I play soccer. I'm a goalkeeper, and we always say goalkeepers are crazy. I also think programmers are a unique breed. Um, I don't know if I'm tying that with my goalkeeping breed, but there we have a unique mindset that not every tech manager has. Like I'll come out and I'll be struggling on a problem that we think differently than a tech manager thinks, or a installer thinks, or even a computer hardware person who's just repairing the hardware. We think differently. So having someone we can share that experience with, and bounce ideas off of, is how you build a community there. And that's one thing great with the higher ed Slack group is we don't judge anybody. um, we all share freely. We don't have brand loyalty. Like, we can talk up, and we don't sit there and try to sell. And then that's how I feel with you, with this connection, and hopefully the community we build through this uh, project here is, we're not selling, we're not trying to give service, we're trying to build a community to help each other.
I think that that's well put, and probably a good way to end our first successful episode. And there'll be more to come. And what I think we want to do is encourage people to reach out to us. So, James, why don't you tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you, and what are some good ways to be able to submit ideas and questions and feedback?
I think while we were still in the infancy of this project and working out the logistic, I mean, as programmers, we're always trying to figure out logistic, is hit, you can reach me out on Twitter. My name is AV James King. I am on LinkedIn. You can also swing by higheredav.com and see my IT and AV column, and they have connection links to me there as well.
That sounds great. I'm also on social media at Steve Greenblatt, so that's an easy way to find me. I'm pretty active on AV in the AM, so if you want to join us there, where James and I think originally met, and there's great conversation on Sunday mornings, and LinkedIn has been a growing place to share information and to make new contacts. So please connect with me there. But this is only going to be successful if we get participation and we get input and feedback from the audience. So please reach out to us. We are going to go with the idea of Ask the Programmer as the title. And I wanted to share that for the end because I wanted that to be our win for the first episode. But please connect with us. We look forward to hearing from you. And we're going to try to keep these in very consumable size shows, and we want to make this a good service to the audience. Thanks for listening and watching us.
Thank you.